Okay, there was a complete, total softball pandering, brown nosing interview that Donald Trump did on Fox News with Sean Hannity on Thursday night. Let's look at some clips. We'll jump right into it. The sort of framework here was Donald Trump doing a media tour because of the death of radical right wing radio host Rush Limbaugh. Reminder, Rush Limbaugh celebrated the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, celebrated the deaths of AIDS victims in the 90s. Not a good guy. Trump calling in, and Hannity starts in with, Mr. President, sir, it was such a great idea to give Rush Limbaugh the Presidential Medal of Freedom. How did you come up with such a great idea? Total suck up. Let's take a listen.
A true original. Joining us now on the phone is President Donald Trump. Mr. President, I know that the honor of his life came from you and what that Medal of Freedom meant to him. I know the behind the scenes story. I know who made the first call to me anyway was Matt Drudge and Jared Kushner. And I know you made your decision with Melania there in about 5 seconds, and you said that's a great idea. Tell us about it.
Well, it was an idea that we had that a lot of people suggested to me, frankly, a lot of great people of our country, largely Republicans. It was an amazing night because the Republicans went wild and the Democrats sat there, but they all respected Rush. And I think it was, one of the great honors of his life, Presidential Medal of Freedom. It's a big deal. And he was very honored by it. And he was a great gentleman. Just like Mark said, I listened to Mark, and, Mark is so terrific. But, he said he's special. And Rush was really special. He was a very special guy. And you said irreplaceable, and it's true. He's irreplaceable.
Again, Trump deciding that the thing he gave Rush was the thing Rush was the most honored by. Trump needs that to be true for his own narcissism. And he keeps repeating that the right loves Rush and the left respected Rush. I don't know anyone on the left that respected Rush Limbaugh. I don't know anyone on the left who would have respect for people who celebrate the deaths of people with AIDS or celebrate the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. These aren't mere political differences about what the tax rate should be, where you say, hey, you know what? We disagree, but I respect their point of view. Cheering AIDS deaths has nothing respectable about it. It is a bizarre thing for Donald Trump to keep repeating. Then Hannity goes into even more sucking up to Trump. And Trump again reveals that the thing he really likes about Rush is that he supported Trump. That's all Trump cares about.
There's this a side of you that I know a lot of Americans don't know. And I know many people that this story holds true for. And I know in the case of Rush. And when Rush had his diagnosis a little over a year ago, I knew you were calling him regularly, minimum of once a month, often much more than that. And you would always be checking in with, how are you feeling? How are the treatments? How's everything going? And I know you talked to him a lot. What were those conversations like?
Well, it was interesting because I didn't know Rush at all. As you know, I didn't know him at all until I had gotten word that from somebody that Rush was with us all the way. He was, we have this guy who was so big on radio. I knew a lot about Rush, but I didn't know him. And he was with me all the way, and it was sort of incredible. I got to know him after that, and he was much different, actually. He was a very, very, I wouldn't say not outgoing, but he was very, very warm. He was just a very warm person. And when people got to know him, I loved playing golf with Rush. I used to call him the Bull because he was actually a very strong guy, physically very strong guy, and he hit the ball a long way. When he hit it, it went a long way. And but you got to know him, and he loved this country, and he loved his wife.
All the things Trump says about Rush, his ratings, his ability to do a radio show, all that stuff, it would all be equally true even if Rush didn't support Trump. But you and I know that if Rush was an anti-Trump Republican who died, Donald Trump would not be doing this. Donald Trump doesn't have friends. The only thing that matters to Trump is, are you a brown-nosing sycophant? If so, I'll call you a friend until you say the wrong thing, and then I say you're what's that, lightweight, as he often says. What you do, what you do for me and what you've done lately is all that matters to Donald Trump. Let's look at a little bit more of this. Here is Sean Hannity with just a stunning brown nosing of Trump saying, hey, here were Russia's top issues. These are your issues as well, Sir Mr. President Trump.
On Russia's show today, and I was listening before I began my radio program, and they played a segment of Rush. And in that segment, he said, if you took tapes of him when he started in 1988 in syndication, again, nobody thought that anyone can syndicate during the daytime and be successful. And he proved all the naysayers wrong. And if you look at where he stood, conservative justices, liberty, freedom, less government intrusion, less regulation, less taxes, lower taxes, energy independence, secure borders, choice in schools, the Second Amendment, free and fair trade, peace through strength. Sound familiar? Because that's your agenda.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
He was right there. He understood it. He got it. And he's been that way for a long time. He hasn't been somebody that's changed. He didn't go from being a liberal to being a conservative. I mean, he was there from the beginning, and he hasn't changed. His views hadn't changed very much. And his audience, as you know, better than probably anybody, the loyalty of his audience was just incredible. It was staggering.
It's actually interesting and sad how never changing your views is seen as a badge of honor in some circles, on the right and on the left. And as I've said many times, having the exact same views for 50 years likely means you're not learning anything. Now, I want to be really clear. I don't mean it's typical for, say, a 40-year-old, not talking about anyone in particular, for a 40-year-old to have a complete political awakening and 180-degree reversal where all of a sudden they denounce everything they stood for 40 years and say, I was wrong all along and I'm actually a right-wing nut. OK, that raises red flags and it suggests to me grifting. But what I'm talking about is saying your views haven't changed at all for 40, 50 years as if it's a badge of honor. Look at how much we've learned about life and humanity and the planet in 50 years. How could your views not change over that period of time? Even my views on many issues are modified and adjusted and updated to account for new things that we know. It's sad, and it doesn't bode well for the country to see that praised as a badge of honor. Just one more clip here. Hannity explaining what might have been so damaging to Kayleigh McEnany. Listen to this.
Your own Kayleigh McEnany, I mentioned earlier, tweeted that, she was a Rush baby. Her dad would be listening in the car. And it shaped her viewpoint to conservatism. And he did that for so many of us and so many around the country. I want to thank you. I appreciate you being on the program. I know I read your statement the other day, and I know you said in the months ahead you have a lot you want to tell us, and we won't do it tonight, obviously. But when that time comes, we're looking forward to hearing what your future plans are. And what you are planning to do. I have a funny feeling we're going to hear a lot more from Donald Trump. Are my instincts correct?
Well, there's a lot to talk about, and our country is a great place, and we're going to make it even greater, as the expression goes. But we have a lot to talk about. But today's all about Rush, don't you think? And
so Hannity mentions there that growing up as a little kid, Kayleigh McEnany, Trump's former press secretary, would have Rush Limbaugh playing in the background because that's what her dad listened to. That explains so much. And that is a cautionary tale not to have radical right-wing radio playing in the background when you are trying to raise well-adjusted kids. A real lesson in parenting there. So Trump back on Fox News. There it is. We'll see what role Trump plays or doesn't play in the Republican Party going forward. And you can let me know your thoughts about Trump's return to the airwaves. I'm on Twitter @DPakman. Most healthy granola bars have sort of a bad reputation. They don't taste good. They don't fill you up. They don't really satisfy your craving. But our sponsor, Monk Pack, has changed granola bars. Monk Pack Keto granola bars are sweet and delicious, soft and chewy, with only 140 calories, 1 gram of sugar, 2 net carbs, which makes them work beautifully for the keto or low-carb lifestyles. They come in flavors like coconut cocoa chip, honey nut, Blueberry almond vanilla, my new favorite. I love these because I can grab one anytime. It's quick. It's a great snack. Forget the dry, bland granola bars. Try Monk Pack Keto granola bars. If you don't love them like I do, they'll give you all of your money back. You'll get 20% off when you go to monkpack.com and use the coupon code Pakman. The link is underneath this video.